Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Amazing Baking Games. Today, we're going to continue our list of horror games to expect in 2020, and we have got some good ones for you today. Whether it's good psychological, hallucinogenic horrors, ventures into vampiric quests, or even artificial intelligence that's out to get you, there's a lot coming ahead, so make sure after the intro, you join us for Horror Games to Expect in 2020, Part 2. Alright guys, first up on today's list, we've got Ghostwire Tokyo. Now I know that I'm kind of taking a little bit of liberties with this one. When it was originally announced, this game was supposed to come out this year, but with the departure of Akumi Nakamura, it's kind of thrown a little bit of shadow of doubt into it because she was really well known for all sorts of stuff from Okami, Bayonetta, Resident Evil 2, and now this project. So with her leaving last September, it's kind of put a little bit of doubt into it. This game may have actually been extended until 2022, but as of this recording, nothing's officially been announced, so we're going to stick with the 2020 window. With her departure, Shinji Mikami has kind of taken over this by himself, and he's done a lot of great stuff in the past. There's just been a little bit of doubt with the project's view as they move on without Akumi. To get back to the game, Ghostwire Tokyo by Tango Gameworks and Bethesda ZeniMax is almost like a psychological yet historically accurate game that looks at a lot of the Japanese lore, their monsters, their creatures, and things like that as they take place in the city of Tokyo. The basic premise behind this game is that people are just disappearing randomly, almost as if they've been raptured. Your job is to try and get to the source of this and solve the problems to keep this from happening. And it's up to you to decide whether this is paranormal, if it's a conspiracy, if this is dealing with the occult, or all sorts of other possibilities. Being the fact that this is from Tango and Bethesda, you can guarantee a fully fleshed out, deep, immersive game that is going to keep you guessing and keep you engaged for hours and hours and hours. If that game sounds like something cool for you, then let's hope that this game does come out in 2020, but make sure that you check out Ghostwire Tokyo. Second on today's list, we have the game Paranoid by Madmind Studio. This is a first-person horror game that's been described as a psychedelic horror story. You play as Patrick Cowman, and basically you inherited this apartment from your parents. Over the years, this apartment has continued to decay and things have continued to happen. Namely, your sister disappeared 13 years ago, and now all of a sudden she's reappeared, and you're starting to deal with all these visions and craziness going on that you have to get to the bottom of. This game is set in the late 80s to give it a timeline of realism and kind of familiarity that we're all used to. Not only do you have to witness some of these events, but you have to decide what's hallucinations, what's real, and what you can overcome and what you have to run from. This game is rated for its high-impact horror, violence, sexualized violence, sex, and nudity, so this is not going to be a kind game. It's not going to be something that you want to play with kids around. This is a very deep, disturbing game. If you're into those games that are targeted specifically at an adult audience, make sure you check out Paranoid when it comes out in 2020. Halfway down the list, we have Dying Light 2. This is set 15 years after the initial virus that was covered in the original Dying Light game. Now, during the day, you're going to have to worry about humans, and if you follow the premise of the first game, then you're going to know at nighttime that's when the infected really come out, because these infected are sensitive to UV rays, but they have all sorts of abilities and stuff that you didn't have to necessarily face in the first one because they've adapted over the past 15 years. You're playing as an infected person named Aiden Caldwell, and more or less, you have to hide in the shadows during the day because you are infected, and you have more freedom to move around at night. The only problem is, all the other infected move around at night too. So you're going to be playing both sides. You're going to be playing the humans against the infected and kind of seeing what you can get out of each one. But because you do belong to both worlds, equally both worlds are going to hate you for different reasons. It's something that you're going to have to work with and make sure that you're able to weigh out the pros and cons of each whenever you're moving through this world. Dying Light 2 has a focus on revamped combat, which is something that a lot of people complained about the first one, so they've made it a focus of theirs to make sure that they're really pushing towards improving that area. This is a savage and unforgiving society and world where depending on which side that you're fighting on is going to determine how they react to you. So make sure that you're really checking what your decisions are, because it's going to be difficult either way. This is going to be also a 2 to 4 player co-op. So if you're having a little difficulty making these decisions on your own, maybe you want to bring in a couple of friends and they can kind of help you out. That way, if you're siding with, say, the infected, you can have your friends there to help you whenever the humans uprise against you, and vice versa. If this game, in all of its craziness and improvements over the first Dying Light, sounds interesting to you, make sure in spring 2020 you check out Dying Light 2. Coming in at 4th on today's list, we have Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines 2. This game is from Hardsuit Labs and Paradox Interactive, and it's set in Seattle. More or less, you're dropped right into the middle of a fight and a civil war between factions of vampires. The reason why this is considered a masquerade is that you have to not only hide who you are as a vampire in order to survive humanity, you also sometimes have to hide who you are against the other vampires. You don't want to let them know who you are, because if you're seen encroaching on the wrong territory, it may be a wrong step that you can't recover from. This is a violent, blood trade civil war between these factions that you have to choose a side on. There's going to come a certain point where you can't play back and forth and help each one out and play them against each other. They're going to expect you to take sides. This is a melee-centered combat that you're going to recognize a lot because it is a vampire game. You have to feed, you have to survive, and you have to grow. So there's a lot of close-up personal combat that you have to get used to. This isn't going to be a beautiful game in a sense of long distance and long range attacks. This is going to be up in your face, gritty, bloody, and violent. On top of choosing sides in this civil war, you get benefits and drawbacks from each side. So much like the last game on this list, you're really going to have to choose and pick for your particular play style what's going to work best for you. This is a huge world of characters, unlike anything we've probably ever seen in this style of game. It's going to be open world. We've seen open world. It's going to be RPG style. We've seen that before. But when venturing into the vampire genre, this is probably going to be a style that we haven't really seen before, and it's going to be completely grown and fleshed out over what the first Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines game was. So make sure you check out Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Closing out today's list, we have System Shock 3 by Other Side Entertainment. Now, admittedly, we don't know a whole lot about this game itself. We mainly just know about the development team. This game has a development team that has Warren Spector, Jason Hughes, Sheldon Picotti, and Arturo Policio, just to name a few. Now, if you're into the development side of games, then you might recognize some of those names from games such as the original System Shock, Deus Ex, Wing Commander, Epic Mickey, Dungeons & Dragons Online, and a lot of other ones. So where we don't know much about this game itself, we already know a lot about the team that's coming up with it. If you followed any of those games in the past, or you're a fan of those, then you already know that those developers know what they're doing. Even though we don't know much about System Shock 3 aside from the evil AI showdown returning, we don't really need to know much other than that to get a little bit of interest going. I've personally played System Shock 1 and 2. I really enjoyed them. I've been waiting a long time for System Shock 3 to come out, and now with this team coming up and this team building that they've got, I'm super excited about the possibilities of what we're going to be looking at. So if you like those games in the past, if you've been a big fan of System Shock in the past, make sure you check out System Shock 3 when it comes out in 2020. Alright guys, that's all I have for you for today. But before I go, I just want to say my last little piece here that some of you guys have gotten kind of used to hearing, but it's something I want to continue doing. To me, mental health is important. It's just as important as your physical health, and I know for a lot of people sometimes they're afraid to reach out for help because they don't want to be seen as weak. Let me tell you, reaching out when you need help is not weak. It just means that you need help. You've always been there whenever other people have needed you. It's okay for you to need other people. I would much rather hear people stepping up and admitting they need help than to try and bottle this stuff all up inside and to take care of it on their own and it become too overwhelming. Make sure if there's somebody close to you or somebody that loves you and cares about you, make sure that they know what's going on in your life. It's not being a burden if you're just being honest and letting them know that sometimes you need a little bit of help. There's a lot of people out there that would much rather be a shoulder to cry on, somebody to stand with, and somebody to lean on than to be there hearing your eulogy. because you didn't want to reach out for help. Make sure if you're in that situation that you're asking for help and you're taking care of your mental health, because a happy you is a good you, and that's a you that we all deserve and we all want to see. I appreciate you guys coming to join me today. Make sure if you like this video, you like, share, subscribe. But most importantly, take care of yourselves until next time. I'm the Amazing Bacon. I'll talk to you guys later.